Well, good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today for the How to Secure Your Applications in AWS webinar. I hope you've had a good week so far and had better luck than I did in Melbourne Cup yesterday. My name's Paul O'Connell, and I'm part of the AWS team here at Ingram. My co-presenters today, also from Ingram, are Neo Zheng, who's a Cloud Solutions Architect, and Rod Lazarus, who heads up the Cybersecurity team. Looks like we've got a really good turnout today, which is great to see. A special welcome to anyone joining us from New Zealand. How about those All Blacks, eh? Unstoppable. Now, I do recognise some of the names on the call, so great to see you again. And to those of you whom I don't know, looking forward to getting to know you over the coming months. Next slide, please, Neo. This is the agenda. I'll just give you a moment or two to read it. In terms of timing, I think we can look to wrap this up probably by about 10 to 2. We've got some Q&A at the end, and we should be done by, as I said, about 2 o'clock. As usual, we do have a Kahoot quiz, which is always very popular. Some great prizes to give away, so I hope you can stay around for that. If you do have any questions along the way, then please feel free to put them into the chat box. Before we begin, I'd just like to take a moment, actually, if you could just go back a step now. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to talk about what the objectives of today are. And it's pretty simple. It's really about giving you, as Ingram Micro partners, a sense of how we can help you build out a profitable cloud business partnering with AWS and Ingram Micro security vendors. That, in a nutshell, is it. There's a bit of detail behind that, which Rod and Neo will cover off, but I'm hoping in the next 30 to 40 minutes, you will see why it makes sense to partner with Ingram to help build out your AWS business and how Ingram can help you as a reseller make more money. There was a report yesterday in CRN highlighting how the Australian managed security services market is tipped to grow by a compound annual growth rate of 6.7%, reaching a market value of 4.7 billion by 2025. So this is a really good market to be in and a really good time to be doing just this. Now, I appreciate for some of you, you've already built out a profitable cloud or security practice, and some of you might be just getting started. But the key message I'd really like to emphasize is that wherever you are on this journey, Ingram can help you. So let's get started. Next slide, please, Neo. Many of you who've been working with Ingram for a while will have seen this slide before, so I won't go through all the points on there. And rather than read through it, I'll just give you a moment or two to take in some of the highlights. But in summary, Ingram is an AWS partner on steroids. But we're not your competitor. We, in fact, are your distributor. This partner status means Ingram can draw on expertise and resources of a large multinational organization, but still have the flexibility of a far smaller one. So your dealings with AWS and the various security vendors that we represent are a lot smoother. Next slide, please, now. Picking up on the theme of how Ingram helps partners, there are a lot of ways in which it can potentially assist, as this slide outlines rather. But if I had to sum it up, is that Ingram, we help making building a cloud practice easy for you. Whether that's through sales training to help you articulate the AWS messaging, technical resources to help you build out an AWS solution, working with AWS to understand the different partner levels and programs, plus being able to leverage the range of AWS services which we have access to. The end result is at Ingram, we help you take those often difficult first steps to help you get started. If you're already in the cloud, we help you refine and enhance some specific areas of your business. Next slide, please, Neo. Just quickly before I pass over to the other presenters, summarize some of the key benefits you get from as part of the AWS program we have here at Ingram. As a partner, you can now make margin on your customers' AWS consumption. Now, previously, this was something that as a reseller was always tricky to monetize, but working through Ingram, you can now make margin on this and take advantage of our credit terms. We also give you access to CloudCheckr. CloudCheckr is a cloud optimization tool that really helps your customer get a really detailed, granular understanding of their AWS environment and make enhancements and changes to it. We've got access to AWS specific pre-sales resources, of which Neo is one, who can help you scope out an opportunity and really build out their expertise. We also have access to AWS well-architected reviews, which is a way of making sure that your AWS solution meets the relevant specifications. We also have a partner program, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail, called ILLUMINATE, which helps you take those often difficult first steps in getting started as an AWS partner. AWS ILLUMINATE is a program we've put together here at Ingram. And basically what we do is, this is a free of charge service, which we offer to partners who would like to participate. And we work across four key areas of your business: sales, marketing, technical, and management. We work together to put together an AWS plan to help business plan that takes you from where you are now to where you want to get to. The end result of that is you'll have a very clear idea of what you need to do, the resources you need to invest, and what steps you need to take those often difficult first steps in building out your AWS practice. So ladies and gentlemen, I'll now pass over to Neo, who'll take you through the rest of the presentation. Thank you so much.
Good day, everyone. Neo here. I'm the Cloud Solution Architect, part of Ingram Micro Cloud team. Today, we want to talk about the cloud security of AWS. As you can see here, at AWS, cloud security is job zero. All AWS customers benefit from a data center and network architecture built to satisfy the requirement of the most security-sensitive organizations. With AWS, you gain access to the world-class security team, because that world-class security and compliance team watching your back. So you don't need to worry about your infrastructure security anymore. You can focus on the things you're really good at. AWS also got a broad accreditation and certificates. And you can see well-known PCI DSS and SOC 3. That's really hard to get one. And the different countries got their own requirement on compliance. And in Australia, we got IRAP that was required for the government customers. They also covered by AWS. You can see there's a link underneath the slide. You can find all the lists for different countries if you have a customer just need a compliance requirements purpose. We're going to talk about the AWS shared responsibility model, right? And there is a shared responsibility to accomplish the security and compliance objectives in the AWS cloud environment. There are some elements that AWS take responsibility for, such as their global infrastructure, data center, hardware, software, networking facilities. They also, AWS also have managed services such as those S3, RDS, DynamoDB. They take full responsibility for. But as a customer, you need to take care of the network security, network configuration, security group, and just to allow the certain services coming into the AWS environment. You also need to take care of the patching of the operating system, either Linux or Windows. You also need to make sure there's no vulnerabilities or software defect on your application to the hackers can gain access to. You also need to set the proper authentication account management via IAM, so those to give the users least privilege. And the key takeaway for this one is understanding who is responsible for is critical to ensuring your AWS data and the system are secure. Just want to emphasize this shared responsibility model one more time. Customers are responsible for their security and compliance in the cloud, and AWS is responsible for security of the cloud. I use an analogy for most of the customer and the partner here is think about you're renting a house. Your landlord's responsibility to build a fence and give you the proper security door, but it's your responsibility for the content in the house. If you leave your door open to get someone rob you, you are the responsible for. Let's talk about the identity management. This is from Wikipedia, right? The management of individual principles of their authentication, authorization, and privilege. We can leverage IAM to accomplish that. In the AWS, we have IAM, which is Identity Access Management, and you can use IAM to do authenticate. You can create an IAM user with username, password, also give them access key and secret access key for your API application. And with MFA, you can also federate with your third-party identity engine, such as Active Directory. For authorize, you can create a policy with a granularity who can do what. Therefore, you can implement the least privilege and the segregation for the duties. And finally, you need to log every activities in the Cloud Trail. So the purpose is just for troubleshoot and audit. At AWS account, you have a root account and you have IAM users, you have a template credentials. For the root account, what I'm going to talk about is do not use that once you create the accounts. Root account is the account owner ID. Most of the time, you only need root account to change the support plan or close the account. I've seen a lot of partners still using root account for daily work. Do not do that. Create IAM user, give them proper privilege and the permission to use the IAM user to do the daily job. Just log once you have a root account, enable MFA, log somewhere. Do not use your root accounts. And you can also use a temporary security credential for in a certain area. You can just give us temporary credential for 50 minutes, they were expired, right? Just for different use case. Let's talk about encryption. How are you currently encrypting your data? The data encryption refers to protecting data while in transit. In this case, travel to and from AWS, and at rest, while the data stored on the disk in AWS. Right? AWS has native services make the encryption job much easier. AWS has a key MS, which is the key management services. It makes it easier for you to create and manage encryption keys. You can use the key from KMS to encrypt data at rest. For example, the object storage S3 buckets. You can use the key to encrypt your data, and also those database and EBS, which is the volume of the virtual machine. If your customer has security requirement that you can only create the data, the encryption key from hardware security module, AWS got Cloud HSM, which is Cloud Hardware Security Module. It's AWS managed services. You can easily generate and use your own encryption key on AWS Cloud. AWS also got ACM, AWS Certificate Manager, that they can let you to easily provision, manage, deploy public or private certificates using AWS ACM. You can apply the public certificate to your load balancer, so you don't really need to purchase the public certificate separately from third party like GoDaddy. You can literally get certificate like a domain verification done from ACM and just apply the certificate into your services. AWS also got a virtual private gateway or transit gateway for VPN IPsec terminal terminations. You can use the virtual private gateway or transit gateway to build a bridge in between your on-prem and your AWS cloud environment via internet. Think about how you're going to manage vulnerabilities for hundreds of virtual machines in EC2 instance on AWS. Amazon Inspector. Amazon Inspector is automated security assessment services. It's a pay-as-you-go, right? After you deploy the agents or from Inspector, they will perform assessment. And the Inspector will produce a detailed list of the security reports prioritized by the level of security. Then you can create a Lambda function for the automation to automate remediations. The Lambda function will call AWS System Manager to patch your instance accordingly. So you don't really need to worry about vulnerabilities on your AWS environment anymore. So with Inspector, everything can be done via automations. The next I'm going to talk about is Wolf. Wolf is AWS web application firewall. That's pretty much designed for those web servers. And you can see here, web traffic filter with custom rules with WAF. You can create a custom rule to block or allow those certain IP address or HTTP headers. It's pretty much 7-layer firewall. The use case for the WAF is to protect the attack, such as SQL injection or cross-site scripting, and also prevent website scraping, crawlers, or bots, right? It also mitigate the DDoS attack. There's an interesting figure. Gartner reports that the main driver for the WAF purchase is PCI compliance. But if you do have a web application, you can't really afford to have like down for 1 second. I will recommend AWS Shield. AWS Shield is managed distribution denial of service protection services by AWS. So if you are under attack, you can get AWS people from Shield team to jump on and right away to mitigate the downtime. So that's the pretty much web and the Shield contributes. You can, if you have a web application, web and Shield are recommended. Cloud Trail. Cloud Trail give you more visibilities on the API calls. Who made the API calls? When was the call was made? What was the API call? Which resource will act up in the API call? Where was the API call made from or made to? You can find all the information from Cloud Trail. And Cloud Trail logging stored in S3 buckets. You can also use Cloud Trail logging, integrate with the Cloud Trail logging into the data platform, such as Splunk, Sumo Logic, or Datadog. I will talk about how we're going to make this logging easier in the next slides. Let's talk about the CloudWatch. You can use the Amazon CloudWatch to gain system-wide visibility into resource utilization, application performance, and operational health. And with CloudWatch, you will have a more visibility on your application performance. But if you're new to AWS, there are so many services I talk about. You need to jump back and forth to monitor the whole environment and security posture. Is there any easier way? As we talked about CloudCheckr last week, as you can see, we offer CloudCheckr for free of charge. And CloudCheckr got a security module pretty much built based on the Cloud Trail and CloudWatch. You can really leverage CloudCheckr as unified cloud management platform, and you can monitor and govern your security on the CloudCheckr. And on top of it, we do offer CloudCheckr to our partner and customer for free of charge. Just reach out if you want to have a demo of CloudCheckr. Just reach out to either Paul or me. We will happy to jump on the call with your customer or existing customer for the CloudCheckr demo. As the AWS also has a marketplace, they got very good ecosystem and around security vendors. Ingram Micro also has a good security vendor ecosystem. Next, let me pass the presenter to Rod Lazarus, who is the Ingram Micro head of cybersecurity team. He will talk about Ingram Micro security offer around cloud security.
Hey, thanks everyone. Thank you. And so yeah, like I said, my name is Rod Lazarus. I'm the head of cybersecurity at Ingram Micro. I'm going to just punch the next slide there. I've only been at Ingram for since February, so I'm reasonably new to there. I sort of spent a lot of time at Cisco and Verizon and a few other big sort of vendors around. But I've been in security for over 25 years now. Back when security wasn't actually called security, back when we were just basically changing access lists on border routers and welcome message from, welcome to go away or we'll go and put you in jail type things. The quote I've got on there is one that I've used on a lot of occasions, and it really rings true. It takes years to actually go and build a reputation, your customers, your partners, your worth inside the community. And it really only takes a single cybersecurity incident to put a massive dent in that. And I've seen it time and time again. I'm sure there's people on this call that can call out how many companies have been hacked in the last sort of 5 to 10 years. I know I can. And it's just that, with companies that you see that have been hacked, you still use them, but I always have that reservation about, the fact that they have been done and they have been in the media and they haven't sort of done it well. Okay, next slide there. So what Ingram's done is they've really invested in cybersecurity. It's an integral part of everything that we do, and it should be literally part of every conversation we have with our partners and our customers. If you're putting something like AWS up in the cloud, you're putting your, whether you've got an e-commerce system or a web system or an internal system that you want to access in AWS, you saw that what was done before is AWS will take care of all the framework, but everything else, all the applications, all the security is all up to you guys, and you've got to protect it. And especially if you're starting to do your own web development, then you want to make sure that you've got some guys in there who really understand it. And to help you guys out with that, we've built a dedicated cybersecurity team. So it's taken me about 6 months to put that together. I've got them all on deck now, and they're all currently sort of up and working and ready to help all of our partners and our customers. Ingram was generally known as a volume products type deal. We could punch stuff through a house quicker than just about anybody else. But now that we've built our cybersecurity services, we're sort of trying to add value to that as well. Next slide there, thanks, John. So what we've done with our local services here, and these are Australia-wide services, we've got pre-sales services, we've got consulting services, POC services, and implementation services. Now, what that boils down to is that if you're thinking of rolling out an instance of AWS, or you need some sort of help on how to secure it, or you need some consulting services, or you think you're running up a POC, going, okay, well, let's test this one against this, let's see what this works, then give us a call. We've got those services to help you. So all the pre-sales services and the POC services and the consulting services, they're all free. They're all part of it. If you buy AWS or one of our other sort of product lines, we'll help you with that. We'll sit down with you and put together a project plan, put together a high-level design. What does that look like? How do we roll that out into that area? What type of applications are we going to put into that cloud environment? And then we've got our implementation services as well. So if it's just something small and you need a hand with, okay, we think we're rolling out this, what do you think's a good idea? Can you give me a bit of an overview and sort of be available to give me a hand if something breaks? That's all complimentary services. We do have paid services that we can help you with as well. So that is if you're running a large environment, or if you're running a project, maybe there's some type of migration that you're doing and some of the systems, but not all of them. We're more than happy to come out and help you guys do that as well. Next slide there. So this is pretty much my favorite framework. I know there's a few out there, but I find this one reasonably, it's pretty solid. As we spoke about before, identification. Know who's coming into your environment. Know what they're doing. If you a cloud environment is also, some say it's a little bit more risky to put it up in the cloud. Some say it's not. As far as security goes, it's the same. It doesn't matter where it's on-prem or on the cloud. You've got to do the same things. You've got to build that environment that you need. You've got to identify who is coming in and who is going out. Identify who's got access to admin or root, depending on what system you've got in there. Identifying, is it the entire planet that's going to come in and look at the web, or is it an internal system? You need to build that identification framework in place so you can see who's doing what. And once you get that, you've got to protect it. You've got to build that security fabric. You've got to make sure that you've got the controls in place to protect it and detect it. Because that's the other thing, is protecting it's one thing. And that's what everybody does. They build firewalls, they build caches, they build proxy servers, they build all this infrastructure around it. And they need to be able to detect what's going on inside it if they get through. And the word on the street is normally not if, it's when. You will have somebody come in and start to have a look around your environment, they will penetrate your border. They will get into your systems. And as long as you can detect it, you'll be able to stop it. And that's the key. It's your response. How do you respond to that? Once you've got a breach and somebody's inside your environment, if you catch it early, that's great. You've got it, you block it, you find out how they got in, you disable that, you block the port on the firewall, you turn off the systems, all that kind of stuff. If you don't, then you miss it. And like when I was talking to a company the other day, they were getting calls from their clients who were saying all their credit cards were cancelled because they had been breached. And all of a sudden, all of their credit card information for this company was going out on the dark web. So how do you respond to that? Is it the CEO that gets up and says, there's a problem? Is it the CISO? Is it Bob from accounting? I don't know. Whoever the company chooses needs to be able to go out and respond to that. Who are they? Are they good in front of the media? You want the best person for that job. And then, of course, which is the most expensive bit, after that is the recovery. How do you recover? How do you find out how they get in? How do you rebuild your infrastructure to make sure it's protected? And that's really important, because we've been, when I was in Cisco, we did a company where they did it, and this is a large multinational company. They did get breached, and they said, we offered to help them, and they went, no, we'll take it in-house, we'll fix it. And they did, and then 3 months later, they got breached again. So there was 2 breaches in 3 months, and the recovery was exorbitant. It was a very, very costly exercise for them. But the problem with, it's a simple framework. Can you punch next for me? The thing is that it's a simple framework, but to do that is just a maze of stuff you've got to do. Now, these are just Ingram Micro's vendors. You could quadruple it with every other vendor out there that does something. And that's what we're here to help you with. There is so much choice out there. And if I can offer any simple piece of advice around this, is that don't necessarily go for the application or the vendor that's got the best widgets. Just because it's cool and it's new doesn't necessarily mean it's best. Get something that talks to what you've got. Visibility is key in security. You've got to know what you've got, you've got to know who's accessing it, and you've got to know what it's doing. And you've got to make sure you build an environment and a framework that gives you that. Okay, next slide. So this is what our consulting services portfolio looks like. We've got our advisory services. So we've got the strategic consulting. That's where we can help your customers, your partners, yourselves talk about things like Essential 8. Talk about building a NIST framework, ISO 27001, PCI DSS. Help you understand, and your partners and your customers, what that looks like and how do you do it, because some of those things are pretty complex to get your head around. There's a technical consulting alongside that as well, which is roughly our penetration testing. And that is, if you build an environment, no matter where it is, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's on-prem, whether it's in the club next door, test it. Get someone to test that environment, especially in the cloud. If you put it up there and everybody has access to it, hire a hacker to do it. We've got hackers that can do it as well, but hire someone to actually go and test it, because as we always say, hackers don't need change control. They just launch stuff out there all day, and they will just continually try things. And with that test, they'll be able to highlight where the possible areas are that they can get in. Now, I've seen, my son is actually a hacker, and I've seen him fire off stuff. He's got a password file that he just loads up and cranks out, and he can pop passwords in about 5 seconds. It's amazing how many people use the same passwords that they do across the board. Make sure you've got complex passwords in there. Make sure that your containers are facing the right way. Make sure that no one has access to the things they don't need to do. And that's what a hacker does. They'll go in there and they'll do that, and they'll write you a report. The report will basically come up and say, okay, here's what I did, here's how I was successful, and most importantly, here's what you got to do to fix it. Along that, there's the architectural services as well. So if you need help with designs, high-level designs, low-level designs, implementation plans, business unit acceptance testing, I'll take your pick. If you need a hand with that, then give us a call. If it's something small, it's all free. But if you've got a large design, or even if you're starting to migrate something, that's where we could use our technical services as well. Just say, for example, You've got an instance out there in the cloud and you're migrating something. Just say it's a firewall and you've got your Cisco firewalls in there and you're now migrating to a Fortinet firewall. If you don't know anything about Fortinet, give us a call. We've got the staff to help you do that. We're more than happy, because migrating stuff from point A to point B or vendor to vendor is really, really complex, especially around firewalls. I mean, I've seen over the past 20 years with firewall migrations, something that's planned for 2 weeks goes for 12 months. They're complex, they're hard to move. And if you're doing that and you're not sure about it, give us a call. The guys will happily sit down and say, okay, if you're doing A to B, then you might want to watch out for this, or do this first, or make sure you take the time to plan it, because otherwise they'll come back and bite you in the butt if you don't plan it all correctly. And that's it from me. I think that's my last slide. If you want to go to the next one, I think we can hand it back to whoever's next. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Rod, and thanks, Neo. Just quickly, if you've got any questions, please just pop them into the chat box. It's now time for the Kahoot quiz. Got through that in record time, actually. Well done, guys. Dorothy, I'd like to pass over to you to the Kahoot, to start the Kahoot quiz. So please stick around. We've got a $100 Uber Eats voucher up for grabs. So that should keep me in burgers for about a day, but just kidding. But yeah, so please stick around. Over to you, Dorothy.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. So for those that haven't played Kahoot, please feel free to type up kahoot.it so that you could hop onto the game and start. And alternatively, if you've got the app on your phone, feel free to log on that way. Before I start the game, I just wanted to let you know that once again, we do have a $100 Uber Eats voucher for the person that comes first. The game itself is comprised of 7 questions. So I've got 2 general knowledge questions and 5 web-related questions. And here we've got the game pin. So the pin, once you're ready to play, is 855394. So thank you to everyone for joining in. You guys all seem pretty keen. That was very fast. And I'll give you guys a couple more minutes. Now, for the person that wins, if you could please put your name on in the chat box so that I can determine who the winner is, that would be great. And once again, for those that are joining this webinar series for the first time, or for those that have already joined us previously and have played the Kahoot, this game is a game of speed. So even if you get the answer wrong, you still get points. So I guess, yeah, the faster the better. So thank you to the 21 people that have joined. I'll give you all maybe about 10 more seconds and we'll kickstart. Okay, all right, I'll kickstart now, and just letting you know we do have the general knowledge question coming up first. So good luck, everyone. All right, question 1. Hg is the chemical symbol of which element? Is it helium, hydrogen, potassium, or mercury? We've got 20 seconds left. Everyone's pretty quick, so I hope you guys all get this right. And the answer is mercury. So well done to the 10 of you that got that correct. That was a pretty tricky question. So we've got first place, we've got Ram, well done. Everyone else is pretty close in terms of the scoreboard. So yeah, we've got 6 more questions to go. At AWS, blank is job 0. Is it CloudCheckr, Cloud Security, Sales and Marketing, or AWS ILLUMINATE? So this was one of the earlier slides from the webinar, so I hope you guys were listening.
I'm expecting 100% correct on this one.
Yeah, the responses are slowing down, so we'll see. Got 5 seconds. Okay, awesome. 15 of you got it right. Yep, so the answer is cloud security. So, wow, well done, Ram. Still on the top, pretty close to Alda. And let's hit question 3 now. True or false? In the shared responsibility model, customers are responsible for the security of the cloud. And the answer is false. So well done to the 10 of you that got that one correct. That was a tricky question. Wow, and we've got a different scoreboard. So well done to Craig. Okay, question 4. Ingram Micro Cybersecurity Consulting and Services portfolio includes which of the following? Advisory, optimization and support, architecture and incubation, or all of the above? 15 seconds left. I think we're just waiting on a couple more responses. Awesome. So that was a tricky question again. So well done to the 18 of you that got that right. It is all of the above. So well done. We've still got Craig up the top. Okay, next question. Question 5, true or false? Does AWS CloudWatch Monitor store logs? I think everyone's pretty confident with this one. All the answers are flowing through pretty quickly. So I've got 10 seconds. I think we're waiting on 2 more answers. Time's up, and the answer is true. So well done to the 14 people that got that correct. So we've still got Craig up the top, so well done. Next question, question 6. What does AAA or AAA stand for? Authenticate, action, audit, authorize, audit, adjust, authenticate, authorize, audit, none of the above. So we've got 5 seconds. And the answer is authenticate, authorize, and audit. So well done to the 9 of you that got that one right. And we've still got Craig on the top of the leaderboard, so well done. Now we've got, I believe, one last question, and this one's a general knowledge question. So this one's up for grabs for anyone at this point. So good luck with this one. How many bones do sharks have in their bodies? Is it 250, 300, 100, or 0? About 10 seconds left for those that haven't responded. And the answer is 0, surprisingly. So kudos to the 7 that got that one right. So well done to Alda, that got 6 out of 7 right. Martin O, 7 out of 7. And first place, well done, Craig. Congratulations for winning the $100 Uber Eats voucher. If you could just pop your name in the chat box, just so that I know who the winner is and I can contact you further, that'd be great. And thank you everyone for joining. I'll pass this back to Neo's screen. to proceed
Thanks.
with the rest of the webinar.
Cool, thanks, Dorothy.
All good.
Thanks. Just while we're waiting for Neo, if you do have any questions, if you just like to put them into the chat box and we can cover them off. Okay, so just quickly wrapping up, thanks again for joining the webinar today. Just quickly in conclusion, just talking about a couple of great promotions we've got coming up for AWS partners. As you can see here, you get a chance to win this magnificent Lego model of the Imperial Death Destroyer. I always get that wrong, not a Star Wars fan, sorry about that. But yeah, some great prizes coming up. We'll send you some details about that. But as you can see, the terms and conditions there, you've got to be an AWS partner signed with Ingram, which is pretty straightforward. And you've got monthly recurring of $25,000 or above, and you can go into the draw to win this great Lego model here, which I'm sure your kids or if you're a Star Wars freak will love. Next slide, please, Neo. Once again, in the vein of Christmas, I suppose it's not that far off now. Another great promotion we've got for all AWS partners who are with Ingram is you've got a chance to win some great Christmas cash based on the amount of AWS consumption that you bring over to Ingram. It's a tiered structure, so if you bring between $1 and $10,000, which might sound like a lot, but for a lot of AWS customers, it's not that much. We'll give you a certain dollar amount, and it goes up as in increments. So again, a great chance to win some great cash prizes for coming up for the Christmas period. All you have to do is just bring your AWS consumption over to Ingram Micro. If you're an AWS partner, you don't lose anything with AWS. You get some great margins as well as access to CloudCheckr, which Neo touched on, and it's a great way to win some bit of extra money for those expensive Christmas periods. So some details have been sent out about that, but if you would like to know more about it, then reach out to myself or Neo or anyone else in this call, and we'll get you signed up. Next slide, please, Neo. Yeah, if you could skip ahead, thanks, that's fine. Next slide, please. Just quickly wrapping up, I'd just like to introduce the wider AWS team. There's me, Paul O'Connell. I'm one of the AWS BDMs. I work very closely with my colleague, Sunny. We're both part of the AWS team here in Sydney, both of us rather based in Sydney. Again, reach out to myself or Sunny if you've got any questions on anything we discussed today. Neo, who was one of the presenters today, great job, Neo. He's a solutions architect, and Engesh, they're both solutions architect rather, trained in AWS and Azure, a whole range of other cloud technologies. So we're available to you at any time. And if anyone listening to us from New Zealand, we've got our own New Zealand team, Sandy and Kalpesh. Sandy is one of the BDMs, and of course, Kalpesh is one of the pre-sales architects. Both of them, Sandy and Kalpesh, have got great experience in AWS and a whole range of other technologies. And again, please reach out to them if you have any questions. Next slide, please, Neo. Okay, so just before we wrap up today, thanks again, Rod, for a really good presentation. If there's any questions, please drop them into the chat box. Just wait a moment or two for those to come through. Yeah, Rod, I've got a question from one of the panelists here, just for you, if you're still online.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, great. So the question is just roughly, you know, how big or how small, what sort of size companies does your team work with? Do they have to be, you know, a certain dollar revenue, or can they be SME? Can they be any size? You know, what sort of what size partners do you typically, what sort of size customers do you work across?
We work across everything from a two-man show to NTT. Whole box and dice. It really doesn't matter if you're small, if you're medium, if you're large, if you're MSP, MSSP. Seriously, it doesn't matter to us. We're here to help you guys. Our mantra in cybersecurity is to help you guys be successful. That's all we want to do. So if we can help you do that, give us a call.
Excellent. And a typical, just out of probably more from my curiosity, a typical Rod engagement, like for penetration testing or something like that, that's what, a 1-2 week process, or roughly a time frame on that? Can you? I mean, everything's different, of course, but what's what does that look like in terms of a time frame?
It just depends on what they want and how they want it done. So a simple one there's some that just need a penetration test, which I don't necessarily think is a great idea, but just to say, I tick in a box. You know, I've now had a penetration test. That's normally about a day, 2 days. You know, a day to do the test and half a day to write up the report. You know, you run Burp Suite, you run, there's a whole lot of tools in Cal and Linux. You fire those things across it. It'll only highlight the glaring, obviously, things that are, you know, that do have the potential to be sort of penetration or attacked.
Sure.
It's normally about, if it's a small site, it's normally about 2 to 3 days. If it's a large one and a complex one, depends. You know, it could be one IP address It could be one URL.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're quite small.
Okay.
If you need
Cool,
a large one, is normally 5 to 10 days.
No,
Yeah,
fair
that
enough.
could be 200 IPs. It could be the front end of,
Yep.
you know, pick the front end of a big company.
Cool. Another question, thanks for that, Rod. If we need assistance with AWS architectural security, do you just reach out through the BDMs? Yeah, Neo, if you want to cover that, or just I'll cover it if you like. Yeah, so absolutely. So just reach out to myself. As I said, Neo is available to help scope out an AWS opportunity, whether it's putting together the design, sort of sanity checking it, whatever it might be. So that's certainly from an AWS point of view. Rod, the question, I'll throw this back to you if that's okay. The question was, if we need assistance with AWS architecture or security, do we just reach out through the BDMs? Do you want to cover that off from the security point of view, Rod?
Yeah, absolutely. So just hit the BDMs in the AWS, the ones you put up before, and they'll reach straight out to me. Or I'm more than happy for you guys to contact me directly. So if anybody wants my details, feel free to pass them on and give me a call, drop me an email.
Okay, excellent. And last question, just quickly, is can you do remediation work against specific legislative framework? Like, for example, Rod, if a customer has to, you know, is on a government panel, they have to have XYZ accreditation. Can you sort of do pen testing and remediation against that? So this is the faults and these are what you need to do to fix it. I think you covered that in the presentation, but that's just one of the questions that's come up.
You do, yeah, and absolutely. And that's the thing about it, especially for accreditation, that's the best thing about a penetration test, is they give you what you need to do to fix it. And it can be, sometimes it's simple as changing a port on a firewall. Sometimes you've got to change the way your web application's designed, your e-commerce is, you know, not tight enough. The guys who develop the web part of it don't understand security. Great web designers, not so much on security. Things like that.
Okay, excellent. I don't think there's any further questions. So with that in mind, it's just on 1:45. We've just gone pretty much bang on time, actually. Thank you all very much for attending. I hope it's been productive and worthwhile. As I said, if you do have any questions on any of the content that's been raised today, please reach out to myself or any one of the team members. More than happy to help you. Just before we wrap up today, Ingram Micro is here to help you build out your AWS and your security practice. We're really looking forward to working with all the partners on the call to help you do so. Thank you very much again for attending. Myself or my colleagues will be in contact over the next couple of days to see how you found today's presentation. If there's nothing further, I'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much, and I hope to catch you all again soon. Thank you very much.